we have the great joy of talking to another wisdom teacher, somebody who I admire greatly. Dr. Shefali is the author of The Conscious Parent, and she has been guiding parents through their lives, through helping them navigate their children's lives and making us all better parents. And I was saying, Dr. Shefali, welcome, and thank you for answering the call to unite. And I know that is your passion for all of us to raise up united and whole children. And we were talking about this moment, this extraordinary moment that we're all living through. You think, like Martha, it is a great opportunity to birth something new.
Absolutely. I talk about a conscious parent as one who uses the present moment as an unparalleled opportunity to connect to their children. So here we are having this unparalleled, unprecedented opportunity because connection in terms of our children's well-being is probably the bedrock, the pivotal foundation to raising them cohesive and united within their own beings. So parents have this momentous opportunity to connect with their children in a way that they have never had the time, energy, or space to do before.
You know, we're in the midst of an epidemic of loneliness. We're in the midst of an epidemic, especially amongst children, of depression and anxiety. Do you anticipate this moment helping with that or exacerbating that? And if you are a parent at home who is stressed out about homeschooling, who is worried about, is school ever going to start again, or how am I going to navigate? What's your best advice to that parent and that child, really, and that relationship?
Well, pre-pandemic, 1 out of every 3 children in the US suffered from an anxiety disorder. So now, post-pandemic or during it, we have to answer the call according to our own level of consciousness. So this is what we are doing here with this initiative, is raising the consciousness so that parents don't miss this opportunity to turn things around. Things were not ideal for our children before. We were fast tracking them on this endless conveyor belt toward this utopia of happiness and success. But obviously, it was not the way toward either, because children were not feeling successful. They were feeling angst ridden. They were stressed out and at an unprecedented high of feeling anxious, suicidality, and disconnection. So now here we are being offered a turning point. But the way we turn depends on the consciousness of the parent. This is why I do the work I do. Can the parent use this moment to turn towards answering a higher call and seeing how they were pushing their children toward this stress-driven life? It is now the opportunity to get off that bandwagon and to rebirth a new vision for our children where
How do you make that turn, regardless of the age of your children, whether you have little children, children who are teenagers, children who are grown, or if children are watching this who are grown and they want their parents to turn in their relationships, they want their parents to become more conscious. How do you turn?
Well, we turn by being honest and looking at ourselves in the mirror and realizing that the way we were wasn't working for our children. Have that conversation with your children and they will tell you. So, how do we turn? By paying attention, by being attuned and truly listening to their call. And they will tell you that the way that we were pushing them to strive on this linear path towards success was dysfunctional for them, was toxic for them. So if the parent truly wants to attune to their children, they will turn. And how do we make that turn and where do we turn toward? Well, the first place in the how is we have to begin to listen. We have to begin to connect to our children with completely different ideals. It's not about schedules and over-driven or stressed out existence. It is about asking them, how do they want to manifest their life? And it's about tuning into the present moment. So tuning within and tuning to the present moment.
So you envision families of all ages kind of gathering around kitchen tables and speaking honestly, saying like, I got it wrong. I stressed you out. I pushed you too hard. I wanted things for you without even asking perhaps what you wanted. And now I want to unite your whole being. I want to try to change course, and I want to hear from you what you want.
Well, I don't hold any utopic ideals around happy conversations, but I think we need to have real conversations. Like you said, we need to ask our children and ourselves what was working and be honest about all the things we were too attached to: our wealth, our status, belonging, the need for validation from the outside world. Well, all of that now has taken a drastic turn. And instead of looking at it as a loss, look at it as an unprecedented opportunity to find the true self. This, I believe, is the great pause, the great reset button, where we can use this moment to connect with the true self. I believe we were being driven along the path of the false self, where the entire globe, humanity, was ego driven towards the false ideals of success and achievement. And now we need to let go and shed those false ideals of the ego and truly begin to live authentically. Our children need us parents to begin to ask them the real and honest questions that matter to their well being, not to our ego. Now it's no more about that, because now we realize we don't know their future and we can't predict it. So all we have is the present moment. So, how can we tune into our children's authentic self in the present moment?
We've talked on this show, has talked a lot about uniting the world, uniting people of all genders and all political persuasions. And you talk about really also uniting the person, right? You talk about uniting the child. What are the two greatest qualities of a conscious parent? What do you need if you want to be a conscious parent?
The first thing is the awareness that the parent has, that they are projecting their unmet needs and fantasies and expectations of their broken self onto their children. Most
Repeat
of us
that,
do.
repeat that.
That the parent has awareness and a real honesty that they are projecting, they are putting onto their children their unmet expectations and fantasies and desires. So through their children, they are actually living out the fulfillment of their broken self. They are looking for their completion through their children. This is the number one mistake we make. It's not even a mistake, it's a colossal unconsciousness that we pass on to our children generation after generation after generation. And this is what this moment of disruption has the opportunity to call for, to disrupt that unconscious slumber, that zombified existence that we are living in, where we're just robotically passing on to our children our emotional baggage that is not healed. So the second thing of the hallmark of a conscious parent is one who chooses to heal themselves, one who chooses to raise themselves to their inner wholeness so that their children are unburdened and unbridled to live in their own destiny.
And finally, Dr. Shefali, so you're really saying that to be a conscious parent, you also have to reparent yourself, be honest with yourself about what you did and didn't get, recognize what you are longing for and wanting, have a kind of honest conversation with your child about perhaps mistakes you have made and needs that were unmet in yourself, and how you want to kind of show up differently for that child moving forward.
Right. Yeah. So unification, as we're talking about unity, for me, the pivotal unity, the unification is inner unification. We live with a schism. Most of us live in a false self, pleasing others, looking for validation on the outside, affixing to false ideals of who we need to be. So, this schism from our truth, most of us were robbed and abducted from our true self. This schism between false and true is where the first unification needs to occur. Because when this is split apart, we then project violence, hatred, prejudice, racism onto the outside world, because we live with an internalized perpetrator within, because we're divorced from our truth. So the healing, as Martha said, as you talk about, has to occur within. When the parent, and the parent is the harbinger of this change, because they are the first and lasting model for their children's well-being, which will continue through generations. So there is no tomorrow without talking about the consciousness of the parent. Everything births within the soul of the parent. The child's well-being exists in the sacred space of the parent's inner being. So this is where parent and child are entwined. So if you want our children's future to be resplendent with beauty and luminosity, It has to occur in the parent's consciousness first.
Beautifully, so beautifully said. Dr. Shefali, thank you so much for putting your wisdom out there for all of us and for people who aren't even, mothers or fathers, they're parenting really collectively, aren't we all? So I want to thank you so much for that
Thank
wisdom.
you, Maria. Thank you for having me.